Okay, welcome. So I wanted to talk about something real quick today. When you're coming from a space of positive higher consciousness, you start to have the ability to self-reflect. And I've seen something that I thought was pretty cool on Facebook. It was a meme that was posted today. And, there's a lot of people out there putting out a lot of good content. And this meme said, pretend you died yesterday. If you were given the opportunity to come back to life today, what would you now have the courage to do that you didn't have the courage to do before? So, that got me thinking about, some different conversations I've had and some things, that are going on lately. And, the conversation I'm having with this enlightened young, very spiritual, highly conscious young man, he asked me about my, near-death experience, and I had told him, the overlying emotion or general feeling that I had was love. It's like that's all that was left. And I remember having this feeling of just sort of a feeling of regret that I had wasted so much time on so many petty things, on my own ego. So many petty things that actually did not matter, especially as I was laying there thinking I was going to die. I remember thinking, wow, the time from when I was 6 years old to now at this point in time, 46, I'm 49 now, so it's a few years ago. Wow, it went by quick. That's all I kept thinking. And I kept thinking, man, all that was left, was love. It was really weird. The mantra that kept going through my head was that only love and discernment were going to drive out people's hate and fear. And in the collective right now, there seems to be a lot of hate and fear, especially fear. And it's fear-driven hate. And I remember saying, to myself, and I couldn't control my thoughts. It was just a constant, it was a repeating mantra as I kept coming in and out of consciousness that only, love and discernment were going to drive out hate and fear. And I remember laying there, and there was a lot of other things. I remember thinking to myself, it was almost like I could see beneath my skin, like to a small line of light, almost like my aura, but it wasn't on top of the skin. It was just underneath it. Really weird. And I remember feeling very weak. Very small, very weak. And one of the thoughts that came to me, was to realize that no matter how strong you think you are, in the end, all of us are headed to the same place and our bodies are going to betray us. So what's left with is how did we make people feel? How did we help in some way? Did we do our job while we were here? And I think that's what everyone should be trying to shoot for. And if you've got a voice, put it out there. As I laid there thinking I was going to... I'm explaining all this to this young man, and he actually asked me this question. He asked me... Well, I'll go back. The one other underlying feeling I had was regret. And as I was explaining that to this young man, I had no fear. Not of actual death. I didn't have... Almost there was like an acceptance. That there was nothing else I could do. And to think how things are in the world right now... If I can grow to be an old man and get to lay in my bed and have a little reflection as I die, I think I would rather die a straw death. Back during the Viking times, they talked about if you didn't die, if you were to tell somebody that their father died a straw death, it was like an insult. Because they went out and sought their deaths. They went out and sought battle. They wanted to live in the moment. I shouldn't say they sought battle, but they were willing to battle, which is obvious. I kind of want a straw death. I'd like to have that reflection and be able to say to myself, wow, I did live. I did do what I was supposed to do. I did show some love put some love out into the collective and not just emotionally vomit and, I don't know, put out negativity. Because we're not going to reach anybody with negativity. We're not going to reach anybody, or at least with unnecessary negativity. And this might sound a little woo-woo, but... And I think sometimes that's okay. It's okay to really express your emotions, or as a man, to be able to express love. And 5 minutes later, if you have to use force to defend yourself, have no problem doing that. And in this world that may come, But as I sat there, as I laid there, and I was, almost dying as my breath kept giving out. I mean, the medicine or the solution for the problem was actually worse than the actual problem, to be honest with you. The acceptance came, no fear, just acceptance. And I remember thinking, I remember just having regrets. I remember this general feeling of regret. And I was telling this young man this. There was no fear. It was just regret. Like regret that I hadn't done as much. Regret that I had been overly petty at times. That I had chased my ego. Or that I ego identified with something I did for my job. And in many cases, ego identified with something I didn't do. And the ego's a healthy thing if you don't let it lead the show. But sometimes we let it lead the show, and it leads us down a path of fear and hate. And a lot of that's out in the collective, right now. And it may pass. It may pass, or it may get worse, I don't know. But live in the moment. The thing that comes to my mind, and the reason why I wanted to say this, is because the young man asked me, he's like, when I was telling him about the regret, and I don't know if we could replicate this. He's going to be on some podcasts with me, and we're going to have conversations, which is good. I think it's better than just talking to yourself, for me anyway, especially if I go live. He asked me, did you regret love? And without any hesitation, I answered simply no. I regretted not loving more. So what I'm going to say with what I'm seeing is, don't be afraid to love more. Put it out there. Live in the moment. Don't be afraid to love more. Defend yourself if needed. That time will come. Train. Be ready. Meditate. Pray. Get some sun. It doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. Have a good one.